What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV back here for another, I'll say late night one, but not as late as maybe the nights
No, you're
before.
not yet anyway. Not yet.
Not yet. Yeah, we might be back, but we'll see. But we got a Tottenham update to bring you, and then we'll bring on some guests. But yeah, first up, we'll start talking about Thomas Frank, and the Daily Mail are reporting that Tottenham are prepared to pay Thomas Frank's release clause. Talks are ongoing between Spurs and Brentford. Discussions are also likely to focus on the level of compensation required for the members of Frank's staff to follow him to Spurs. Sources with knowledge of the situation believe it's heading towards a positive conclusion and that Frank will be announced as Ange's successor. Fabrizio Romano says that there's agreement in place between Tottenham and Frank on the project, salary, length of contract, budget, positions, and players to target this summer. The here we go is coming for Thomas Frank. David Ornstein just gave us some more confirmation as well earlier on today, which we didn't say, but reliable source. So I thought I may as well mention it, saying Tottenham make contact with Brentford for Thomas Frank. Appointment nears completion. Hope to agree a deal in the next 48 hours. And this one, which I thought was interesting, the Bleacher Report, whether you take with a pinch of salt, but they say Daniel Levy has played a critical role in convincing Thomas Frank to become the new Tottenham head coach. The two met in Daniel Levy's house recently to discuss the role, and this led to Thomas Frank informing Brentford last weekend that he wanted to leave. Thomas Frank wanted guarantees on how the club would operate with him as head coach. He will not have the final say on transfer deals, but he will be a part of the process where, a bit contrary to Ange Postecoglou, who said he was the one that did have final say on transfers. But yeah, it's interesting what Romano's saying. They've already agreed budgets, positions, and players that they're going to target this window.
I hope so, if he's agreed to come.
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So I think that's part of obviously the remit of the job that he's going to get. Look, it looks like it's going to be announced within the next 24 to 48 hours. So time to get excited about a new manager, a time to put everything to bed and move forward.
Actually, Sim, it's time to get excited.
Come on. We've got a new guy coming in. Look, as I've said, I think people are misunderstanding my point. It's nothing to do with Frank by my reservations about everything. It's more to do with the club and the board and everything else. That's my frustrations.
Which is completely fair enough.
And starting another project, starting yet again. And I understand Frank's going to need that time, and I'm fine with it. But it's just annoying that we're back here asking a manager for more time because of how we've been as a club over the past 5 years. Even off the back of winning a trophy, we're still back here yet again. And it just seems as though whatever we do, we always end up back here, right where we are right now. But having said that, Frank coming in the next 48 hours, I'm like getting a bit more excited about what he can do for us, and I'm very intrigued about how he's going to kind of acclimatize to the squad, what he's going to do with the players that we currently have at our disposal. Is he going to basically find new ways to fit in some of the players that we currently have? How much better are we going to be with him in charge and all that kind of stuff? And for me, I think, look, he's a great manager. He's going to, I'm certain, I said this before, I'm certain he's going to get the fans on side very, very quickly with the way he speaks. I'm certain as well that most of the squad are going to be back on side with him, even though they're angry about Ange's sacking. I think he's a good enough manager to get them on side quite quickly. So for me, I think it's a smart appointment on that front. I like him. And look, the Brentford fan who came on earlier he thinks he's elite. He thinks he's one of the best in the Premier League at the moment. And as much as I didn't want Ange sacked, I think Frank is a very good alternative, and I think he's a fantastic manager. So you've got to give him the time to kind of bed himself in, and I'm going to be behind him, of course.
Yeah, you got to say, like, he was the best available on the market. There was no one else that would fit the club as well as him, is there?
Yeah. I think he's better than Silva, better than Iraola. I think he's better than those managers. I don't even know if they were on the market. Obviously, you've got Glasner, but I don't know if he was available. But he was obviously he was a good choice. But yeah, I think when you're looking at the guys who are the best fit for this club, where we are, how we operate, then I think he's the best fit. Now, interesting to hear if it's true, Frank asking for guarantees. I wonder what those guarantees are and what he is demanding from Daniel Levy, because, as I said before, one of Frank's biggest strengths at Brentford was his relationship with the hierarchy and how they gave him a lot of time. They were very much on the same page every year about transfers and where they were heading and everything. And in fact, he was an internal appointment when he was appointed, first of all. So it's going to be, I'm interested to know, is Frank demanding transfer fees? Is he demanding just is he demanding, is he demanding backroom staff? What I would be wondering what his demands are from the board, because he's the kind of guy who's known for making it work, kind of thing, right? With what he's got. So I do wonder what his demands are from the hierarchy to give him assurance.
Surely his demands are the criticisms that have been labelled to Daniel Levy in the past, that he doesn't give managers the tools he needs to go and do the job at the expectation of what the job is, to get in around the top four, to go deep in trophies and to win a trophy. And that's what Spurs want from the role. And managers have not been set up in the right way to do that, year after year at this football club. So I imagine guarantees would be that it would be different this time.
Yeah, but my point is, Frank is known for being the guy who gets on with it, kind of thing, loses his best players and gets on with it, keeps improving.
Brentford,
Brentford. Yeah, but that's why he's got the job. So it'd be weird for Tottenham to seek him out saying, we're going to give you the job because we believe in.
I think it's a bit I think it's a bit unfair to say that's the only reason he's got the job. There are many other ways he's got the job.
It's not the only reason, but it's a big part of it.
Is he gone?
Say. No, I'm still here. You've seen. Oh no, you're still there. Go on. What are you saying?
I lost you for a second. I lost you for a second. No, I was saying that it's a bit unfair to say that's the only reason he's got the job. I mean, there's plenty of reasons he's got the job. That was just a key, unique selling point of why he got the job, like for sure. But just because he's done that at Brentford to get them into mid-table, which is an excellent job, it doesn't mean that he's not going to need more in this Tottenham role, and he's not going to be needing the tools to go and do what the board want him to do.
I understand that, but this is a manager who said Basuma, what was it? Basuma, Bentancur, and I can't remember what midfield it was that day. Kulusevski, maybe. He was like, that's one of the best midfields in the Premier League. He was saying Porro it's Trentish. So then for him to come and be interviewed for the job, having said all those things, and be a guy known for really kind of overperforming or getting more out of the players that people expect, for him to come in and now say, well, you don't have a squad good enough for top four, and I want assurances you're going to back me, would seem quite odd to me. As if, because I think he must think we do have a good squad that's good enough for challenging, I would say. From his point of view.
Maybe he thinks we've got a good enough squad to challenge for top four, but do we have a good enough squad to challenge and go, deep in two domestic cup tournaments, challenge for top four, and have a good sniff at the Champions League as well? I would say no, and he would probably say no as well.
I would say no, yeah. I'm not Thomas Frank. Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think we have a good enough squad, and maybe that's what his assurances are. But I think he would look at the squad and think there's a lot to work with here. I think Thomas Frank. I don't think he would immediately look at it and think, I want assurances you're going to give me a squad that can challenge. From his point of view, I would say. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but I would say, compared to what he had at Brentford, he would be licking his lips at what he's got available to him now and what he can potentially do with this set of players. So I just don't see Frank looking at this squad and think and getting assurances that you're going to give me a squad that I can work with, because I think he'll think he's got the basis of that. Maybe that is part of the assurances. I think Ben has gone again. Seems to have crashed. But look, maybe that's part of it. Maybe it's part of, hopefully, he's saying you're going to back me. You're going to give me the funds available to get to make a squad that can challenge on all fronts. Maybe that is part of it. Yeah. Is he back? There you are.
I don't know what keeps happening here.
Yeah, but you're back now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so you
I'm
heard
saying,
what
yeah. Go on, what?
you heard what I said though.
Yeah. Well, I heard what you said before. Yeah, about
I was just
challenging.
saying, he might feel that he's got the squad to challenge in the league to get top 4, top 5, but does he feel like he's got a squad to challenge on 3 or 4 fronts this season? I just question that massively.
Mm, yeah. I mean, based on the evidence, we don't,
Yeah, exactly. So,
especially when there was an injury crisis.
you know what I mean? Like he can punch above his weight, but there's only so much you can punch.
Hmm. That's the name of the game at Tottenham, isn't it? That's what Poch had to do.
Yep. And Poch did it to an unbelievable standard, but we got nowhere near the quality at this moment in time as what Poch had.
Mm. Yeah, I agree with that.
So
But I
look,
think he'll be. But don't you think Frank will be kind of licking his lips at what we have?
of course he will. 100%. He would love the squad that we have, but that does not mean that he thinks that it's capable of challenging on all 4 fronts.
Yeah. I mean,
So look,
especially Champions League and Premier League, we're going to need a lot more depth.
yeah,
100%.
exactly. So I just think that's where it's at
Well,
right
we've
now.
given these assurances out before, haven't we?
Yeah,
Conte wanted assurances.
exactly. But look, we just got to hope and pray. That's all it is.
This is just the problem I have. It's nothing to do with Frank, as I've saying, but it's just like when I heard you say now we've got it right, I'm like, yeah, now we've got it right. Like after all these years, we finally got it right. Is that what I'm meant to believe? Not to say that he's not a good manager. Maybe this technically could be the best fit we've had. It's just like it's hard to believe after all these years, after all these managers we've gone through, who have by the way gone on to win trophies everywhere else but here. And even we just sacked the manager who did win a big trophy. Now we finally got it right. You know what I mean? It's just like how many times we have to hear all this. But I understand where you're coming from. I do, because I understand the excitement around it because he's a very, very talented manager. So I think there is a lot to be excited about with him and a lot to be intrigued about, especially just from a footballing point of view, not just from Tottenham. I think a lot of football fans and Premier League fans will be very intrigued to see how Frank gets on at a club like Tottenham, given how his career has been. Ben has crashed again. Should we bring on Bryan in the meantime? I don't know. Because Bryan is there. God, let's say hi. Hi, Bryan.
Hello there, buddy. How are you?
Ben keeps crashing out, so I don't know what's going on there.
I saw I was making a cup of tea, and I saw him doing it. I can see he's frozen now.
There you go. But even you, I mean, in the WhatsApp, you're misunderstanding what I'm saying about Frank. I've got nothing against Frank. I've got absolutely nothing against him. I just find it hard to get excited at the moment when how many times we've been here before about the start of another project.
Yeah, we had a chat in our little You, Me and Ben group, and I said, because I was watching your live show back after it had gone on, and I got to that bit, and I had seen to the bit, and it seemed it came across to me like where you were directing it was at Frank, but then when you explained yourself, you go, no, I'm directing it at Levy. It made a lot more sense. A lot more sense. I think obviously with it, look, even for me, there is always the doubt, the question mark, the nerves, and all the other negative words you could use about is he going to be backed? And you could say that with every single manager, couldn't you? You could say it with every single manager. I think the one good thing that makes it a little bit calmer.
You're muted, Ben.
I think Ben is Ben's moved to near Stelios and got his Wi-Fi being very, very good. His Wi-Fi is cooking tonight. But yeah, I think the one good thing with when it comes to being backed or wherever he has the money is we know that Thomas Frank has a very, very good track record with buying players at a much more Brentford say price and buying these. When we used to hear Danny Rose say, "Oh my God, we've got to Google every player," in the past, not a lot of these have worked. Not a lot of these paid off. If Thomas Frank buys anyone during this summer window, even if I don't know them, or not know them, never heard of them, and he's in that Danny Rose Googling section, fine by me. Fine by me. Because he's got a track record of doing it.
Oh, Ben is back in the building.
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck's going on tonight, but let's keep moving. Let's keep moving with the update. And let's talk about Bryan Mbeumo again. As the Daily Mail says, it's described as highly unlikely that Tottenham hijack Manchester United's bid for Bryan Mbeumo. And Ben Jacob says that Bryan Mbeumo has made his preference to join Manchester United clear, and all his suitors are aware. Suggestions of a Spurs hijack for Mbeumo are for now premature. Manchester United solely focused on trying to agree a fee with Brentford. Spurs are looking at a right or central attacker with Dibbling on their list. But as for now, Manchester United are the only current side in formal talks with Brentford.
Yeah, it doesn't.
That's all about to change when Frank gets the here we go.
Come on. I think that, I mean, I do think Frank's going to give it a real push. I wouldn't be surprised at all. I think Frank's going to use all his powers of persuasion to try and get Mbeumo to come to Tottenham. But right now, obviously Frank's not been confirmed, albeit I'm sure behind the scenes of words are being said. But I do think in general, a hijack is probably unlikely because Man United are probably prepared to pay a bit higher wages, and we know that he's a boyhood Man United fan. So on the back of all that, and also Man United have stolen a march on us when it comes to negotiating with Brentford and all that kind of stuff. So I think all that leads to it's unlikely we're going to be able to put our foot in the door. But once maybe Frank is confirmed, if we can show we're really serious about him and look, we're the right place for him, maybe there's a case. But I wouldn't hold my breath on getting Mbeumo in.
Yeah, do you not think that Frank's having that conversation with Mbeumo saying, look, Man United have been such a mess. Follow me to Tottenham. We'll do bits.
Yeah, he'll try. I think he'll try it. But whether it's enough, I don't know.
United are about to get franked.
Yeah, let's hope so, mate.
You reckon?
No, I think it's too far done now. As much as hopefully Frank can get into him, if he's coming out and saying these things, if he's already further down the line, we were discussing this yesterday, weren't we, guys? Where it was, do you go to your boyhood club that you supported as a child, or do you go with the manager that established you, and it's a big move across London? It's a hard decision for him, but if his mind is made up, I think there's only one man that can do it. So let's see if Frank can do it.
Yeah, and there's only one man that can stop it. No, I'm joking. There's a few men that can stop this one. Let's talk about Antoine Semenyo, because there's been some interesting reports on him by Sky Sports saying that Tottenham have stepped up their interest in Semenyo. Man United remain admirers of him, even whilst pursuing Bryan Mbeumo. Whilst Tottenham target Semenyo hasn't ruled out moving to Man United, it's believed that he'd prefer to join a club playing in the Champions League. So, I mean, United are not going to go for Semenyo and Mbeumo. So do you imagine?
Neither are we.
Neither are we. Do you feel like it'll be like one goes to Man United, one goes to Spurs, or do you reckon just we won't get him?
We're not going to get either, probably. Yes, yeah. The most likely scenario. But I love Semenyo. I think he's been brilliant for Bournemouth over the past couple of years, especially last season. Really taking his game up a notch. Do I prefer him to Mbeumo? I think Mbeumo is a better player, but they're both kind of decent. I think Semenyo is a bit more two-footed. I think Semenyo is a bit better with the ball at his feet and dribbling than Bryan Mbeumo. I think Mbeumo is a much better finisher. He's much more deadly. He's much better running in behind and timing his runs. I also think Mbeumo is much better at creating chances and getting assists and things like that. Whereas Semenyo isn't as much of a creator as he is, like gets the ball, dribbles, and takes a lot of shots. That's kind of his game. But he's very two-footed, so he's a lot more unpredictable in that sense. But then again, Mbeumo is kind of, he's getting cutting in on his left foot, but he's that good. Sometimes it's just hard to stop, even though you know what he's going to do. So I also think Semenyo can equally play well on the left and the right wing, whereas Mbeumo is very strictly kind of right wing / can play up front a bit as well. So they both do have their strengths and their weaknesses. I definitely think Mbeumo's the better fit for us, potentially, and a better player. But I think Semenyo is a very good second choice, and I think he would fit very well. I actually think Semenyo is a better fit for us now than he would have been under Ange as well. I think because Ange with his wide players, I think he needs more creators there. Semenyo is more of a forward, gets more shots off, and he's got a very, very powerful shot on both feet as well. Very powerful shot. But yeah, I don't think he's the best. I wouldn't say he's the best finisher, but he's a very powerful finisher. So when he gets those chances, he doesn't always bury them, but a lot of the time he can get good. He gets a lot of shots off. So I like Semenyo. I think he's done wonders at Bournemouth this season, really taking his game along. Is he still, how old is he nowadays, Semenyo? Is he still?
25.
He's 25. Okay, so he's not young. Same age as Mbeumo.
Yeah.
I'm more sure Mbeumo is ready for the step up for Champions League than I am Semenyo, but I think Semenyo is a very good player, and I think we could use him for sure in terms of the makeup of our squad. It'll be a very effective signing. I really like him.
How refreshing is it that our option Bs are actually still quite high quality?
Yeah.
Normally it's been like option A is the one you want, and then it's like a real big gap in quality. Also, what I would say is probably, I mean, tell me Paratici is not working behind the scenes without telling me Paratici is not working behind the scenes. We're linked with everyone. But what I will say, have you guys noticed, and obviously you dive a lot deeper into this than myself, it may be just what I'm seeing, it actually looks like the links that we're going for are positions that we actually need filling. It's not scattergun.
That's what's more refreshing, Brian.
Yeah, exactly. It's not scattergun. It's like, it's this one and that one, and it actually looks like, from what we're seeing so far, that the targets we're actually attempting to go for are areas that definitely need improving.
Yeah, absolutely. And look,
Yeah.
For me, like between Mbeumo and Semenyo, I mean, I would prefer Mbeumo, but if Semenyo comes in, I'll be so excited to see that. Every time I've watched him play this season, he's really, bums off seat player, really exciting to watch. 11 goals and I think 5 or 6 assists this season for Bournemouth. Improved on the year before as well. I think Mbeumo, what did he get? 19 goals this season, but I think he got 5 or 6 penalties. I mean, still got more non-penalty goals than Semenyo, but I think Semenyo can take it up another level coming to Tottenham. Very aggressive player as well. I think he would suit right in. I really do.
Yeah, I think he's a great player. He's very direct, isn't he? He is very, very direct, and it's something that we do need. And we, because of always getting there and then passing it back, he is very right. I'm going to run against my man and take it on, and that is something we desperately need.
I feel like sometimes though, when he's not shooting, I feel like his passing and his ability to create chances can sometimes be a bit wasteful. And I think sometimes it's not necessarily the wrong decision. It's more kind of the execution. He overhits his passes sometimes, and I guess he kind of doesn't always pick the right option when he's kind of creating a chance. I feel like he's at his best when he's got a shooting opportunity and he goes for a goal. And he's one of these players who, just sees half a yard, even if it's not the best angle, he'll go for a shot. And in a way, you could say maybe that's not the best thing for a Frank system, because Frank always likes players who take another step, and maybe Frank can coach that into him, which would be quite interesting.
Look, we all know Frank's track record with his forward players, so I think he can make these kind of players even better and a suit to his system for sure. And I think that goes for the players that we got at the club as well.
Just a quick word on Bournemouth. They got to feel bad for them. Hyson on his way. Zabriani's going to PSG. Now Semenyo potentially getting ripped out. One great season, and they're all. I mean, Solanke got ripped out last summer. So what happens when the Premier League vultures circle?
Why are you not saying you feel bad for Brentford? They're getting their manager in Mbeumo, potentially Nathan Collins.
It happens to them every year. This is part of their. This is part of their remit.
It's just us doing it this time.
Yeah.
Jack Grealish is doing the rounds as well. Ben Jacobs says that Tottenham are likely to add another left-sided forward, even though Matisse Tell is expected to remain at the club. They do have genuine interest in Jack Grealish. He's been left out the World Club Cup squad for Man City. It does look like they're trying to push him out to a certain extent. And if they are, that means probably a loan deal is in the offing, with Man City paying a large chunk of his wages. Do you want to see him at Spurs?
I love Jack Grealish. I think when he was at Villa, he was one of my favourite players. He really was. I thought he was absolutely phenomenal. I was always a bit of a defender of him in his early years at City when people called him a flop, and in that treble season, he was absolutely phenomenal. But I don't know. Similar to the Sane reasoning, I don't know if he's lost his hunger. I don't know if it's he's getting 30 to 30 now. Maybe he just needs a like an injection of a new environment, and maybe that'll bring the best out of him again, and we can see that old kind of Jack Grealish. But something tells me that old Jack Grealish ain't coming back. That's what I'm worried about. And it's big wages again. Maybe a loan deal I wouldn't be against, but like it's how big he's on big wages. I'm assuming 300 grand a week, probably 250, something big.
Depends how desperate City are to get rid.
I like him. I don't know it doesn't really fit in as a left winger really for a Frank. How Frank usually
probably more as a 10, I would say.
Yeah, I guess I wouldn't mind him as a rotating with Madison maybe in that kind of role. Look, if he's still hungry to kind of be at his best all the time and show that confident Grealish who's like larger than life and thinks he can take on the world, then I'm happy for it. But I kind of feel like he's won everything now at City. 4 titles, whatever, like a Champions League. He's just won so many trophies. I don't know if he's got the hunger still in him, but maybe you can prove me wrong.
Yeah, there's rumours of him going all sorts of places. I think the biggest link is to Everton. You see him going to Everton.
The thing is, the reason why I think those kind of moves make more sense for him is because he goes to Everton, right? Everything's going to go through him. He's just going to be the main man, and that maybe will give him that spark again. He comes to Tottenham, he's going to have to, compete with Madison, all these different like good quality players, and like he's not. I think he needs to be the main man in the team, and maybe that can get him his spark back.
I agree with that. Brian, anything?
Yeah, no, I think Simeon calling Everton is actually a great shout. Going into their new stadium, new owners or newish owners, what a statement to make that would be for Everton. I will say with him coming to us on a loan, you can never turn down Jack Grealish. When you're talking about the hunger sim, he's got to force his way back into an England World Cup team. That's going to be his biggest drive wherever he goes. If he was available and we could get him, I think wages are a massive problem. Massive problem.
Really needs on 300 grand a week.
Exactly. Which immediately, unless Man City are going to cover some of the wages for him to go on loan, I think
that will be the case, Brian, though, because like they're desperate to get him out. They're desperate to get him out.
Yeah. So I don't think you can turn a Jack Grealish down if the possibility comes up. But I think I hadn't even thought of it. What you just said, Sim, you do come out with some nuggets, don't you? That is a nugget of gold. That's a really
Which one?
The Everton one, the explanation of why it could be I think it's a great shout. But if we had the opportunity to get him, I would hope Spurs explore it.
Yeah, I'm undecided on it, to be honest. I think if you ask me if I prefer a Semenyo over a Grealish, I would say yes every day of the week. Like Semenyo's that bit younger, that bit more fresh, maybe a bit more to prove in the game as well, going to a bigger club. I think I'd prefer Semenyo over a Grealish for sure.
Grealish has got 4 goal contributions in his last 2 seasons combined.
Yeah, which is mad.
That's mad.
Yeah,
he hardly played this season.
6 goal contributions. He's got 4 goals and 2 assists. 2 assists, 1 assist this season and 1 assist last season.
He barely played this season, though, didn't he?
He played the equivalent of 90 minutes.
Yeah, you see what I mean.
And the season before was 11.
Yeah. He's never been one that has got mad amount of goal
19 games of the past 2 seasons.
He's never been one that has got mad amount of goal contributions, even at New Villa.
He's still got decent. His last season at Villa, he got 16. The season before that, 14. Season before that, 12.
But I mean, for £100 million player, you still expect a bit more than that.
I get that. He wasn't. I understand your point. He was never bought for the goal contributions, but he still provided a bit of a threat in the final third. It's like that seems to be completely disappeared.
Yeah. Last story that we're going to talk about today is regarding Kim Min-Jae of Bayern Munich. Bleacher Report is saying that Min-Jae has been offered to several Premier League clubs, including Tottenham. Jonathan Tah arrival at Bayern Munich, the newly crowned German champions, will be looking to move one of Kim and Upamecano on this summer. Upamecano is currently in talks over a new deal with Bayern, and sources expect him to commit to a new deal in the coming weeks. So that means Kim Min-Jae will be available this summer. Chelsea, Tottenham, Liverpool, Man City, Man United, and Newcastle have all been made aware of that. With Kim Min-Jae, you imagine that if Romero was to go, would you be happy with Kim Min-Jae as a replacement?
I like Kim Min-Jae. I think his Bayern move is being a bit mixed. Obviously, he was phenomenal at Napoli when they won the league, so you can't really forget that. But yeah, he's gone to Bayern, and he's been, I don't know, some people like him, some people don't like him. It's and obviously clearly there. I think this is the second summer that there have been rumours about him leaving. I think, but this season, I think was it this season or last season he fought his way back into the team? I can't remember which one it was.
Last season he lost his place to Dyer under Tuchel, and this year he's played more or less a significant part of the season.
Yeah, so I think this is a guy who's clearly very, very strong. I think he's maybe a bit quicker than people give him credit for, but he's obviously not the quickest, but not a slouch. Obviously amazing in the air. But I don't know. It's hard to know why he hasn't really worked out at Bayern Munich, for why they don't fancy him, and why he can't seem to nail down a kind of a regular spot, like as a proper someone they rely on for some reason. If he can get back to that Napoli form, I think it would be an absolute bargain. I think Frank would love him, to be honest. I do think Frank would love him. So on that basis, because I'm still thinking in my head we got Ange, but we don't. So on the basis that it's Frank,
move on, man. It's time to
on the basis that it's Frank. I think he'd be a good move.
Yeah, I would love Kim Min-Jae at Spurs. I think he's brilliant. I really do. Man mountain of a player, and can be decent with the ball at his feet as well. So I think if Romero was to go, I think bringing someone of Kim Min-Jae and his stature in, I think would be brilliant for us.
I think it's a no-brainer, an absolute no-brainer. And then you look again. If you lose Romero, obviously it's a massive, massive hit. It's a massive hit because we know what he can be like. If Kim Min-Jae, people discuss Romero's form being up and down a lot, don't they? During his time, and don't get wrong, today this season at the end he was sensational. Kim Min-Jae brings, if he can get back to his Napoli form, and you look at that back there, you've got strength, aerial dominance, you've got youth. If you've got Phillips and Vuska, that it kind of complements the entire array of defenders we'll have. I think it's an absolute no-brainer.
Yeah, I agree. But that is all the news stories we've got for you today. Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. And we can move on and talk about other things while I clip this up. Just give me a